Hey guys, I hope your day has been well. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to use a multiplication chart to divide multi-digit numbers. Okay, so let's get started. I have 885 and I am going to divide it by 15, for example. Alright, so here's the thing that I actually really recommend you. When you're working out division problems right here, please consider having a lot of paper space. So don't try to squeeze the problem in like a small corner of your page. And another thing that you're going to also be, another tip that I'm going to also give you is that whatever you do to the side, do not erase. Okay? So let's get started with this division problem. I like to cover a lot of things because big numbers confuse me. So I start out with 8. 8 divided by 15. Anytime when you have a small number divided by a bigger number, you know you don't have enough. So there's no way you can make any groups of 15 out of 8 marbles. Now we move our fingers and we cover. So now that we're seeing 88 divided by 15, my head can't think. My head cannot wrap around groups of 15. This is way too much for me. So you know what I do? I use another trick. I cover the last digit of this number and I also cover the last digit of this number, and now the numbers are more manageable for me to see. I can see, oh, 1 times what makes 8 without 1 times what gets me closest to 8 without going over. And I know this is kind of confusing right now, but as you're practicing this method, it will be helpful for you when you get used to it, okay? So just bear along with me. So your thinking right now is 1 times what gets you as close to 8 without going over. Then you're going to go to the side and you're going to try to test that number that you think out. So in this case, it's 1 times 8 will get me right at 8. So that's where I'm going to start with. I'm going to try to multiply 15 times 8 to see how many marbles I may need. So 5 times 8, I go to the 8s column, and here's 5 times 8, which is 40. So I put the 0 down and I put the 4 over. 1 times 8 is 8, plus the 4 is 12. This tells me that in order for me to make 8 groups of 15, I'm going to need 120 marbles, which I don't have. I only have 88 marbles. So I have to try a smaller number. Okay, so let me see. Let's try 6 groups instead. You can try 7, you can try 5, you can even try 2. But we're going to try 6 groups. Okay, so here we go. So here's our 6. Notice how I normally put my finger on the number that I'm multiplying by at the bottom here. So it's easy for me to keep track of them, okay? So 6 column is right here. So 6 times 5 is 30. I put the 0 down and I carry the 3 over. 6 times 1 again is 6, plus the 3 is 9. Ooh, I'm getting close, but it's still close to 88, but it's still more than 88, and I cannot use this number. So I have to go just a little bit lower. I'm very close. So now I'm going to try maybe 5 groups, okay? Because 5 times 5, again, my finger goes on the 5s column, goes in the 5s column, and 5 times 5 gives me 25. And then 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 2 is 7. So notice, here's 5 groups, here's 6 groups. 6 is way too much. 5 is pretty low, but it's less than 88, and that's what I need. Okay, so I put down 5 groups. And in order for me to make 5 groups of 15 marbles, I need 75 marbles. Now I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3. 8 minus 7 is 1. And I'm going to bring down this 5. Okay, now it's 135. Notice I did not erase any of this part. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning when I was giving you some tips. Do not erase any of your work, because this work is crucial as you're finishing up the problem. As you notice, now my number is 135, and I have to divide this 135 by 15. I know that at the beginning when I did 8 groups of 15, I needed 120 marbles. This number is more than 120. That tells me that I might need to up the number of my groups by 1 more. Okay, so then 9 times 5 is 45. Again, I go back to my 9s, and 9 times 5 right here is 45. I put the 5 down and bring the 4 over. 9 times 1 is 9, plus the 4 is 13. And voila, that is exactly the number of marbles that I need. So here, I have just completed my first division problem using the multiplication chart. Alright guys, let's try another problem using what we just learned. So for example, I have 308 divided by 22. Okay, again, these numbers look scary to me because they are in the hundreds and I don't like to divide. So we're just going to be using the strategies that I've just shown you in the first problem to see if it's going to help you with this problem as well. Okay, so again, I always cover 3 divided by 22. I know when I have a small number here divided by a bigger number, there's no way I can make any groups of 22 with 3 marbles. Okay, so now my finger is going to be sliding to the next number, and I have 30 divided by 22. For some of you who are mathematicians, you can think of this very quickly, but for me, sometimes I have to break that number down even smaller in order to help me with this, okay? So what I do is I cover, and I cover right here, and in my head, I'm thinking, what am I multiplying, what can I multiply 2 by to get me as close to 3 without going over? And the obvious answer is 1, because 2 times 1 is 2. Because if I multiply 2 times 2, it will be 4 already. And so it will be more than 30 right here. So I'm going to go with 1. Okay? I know that 1 times any number is that number. So 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 2 is 2. Okay? So now I have 0 minus 2. I love it. A lot of students will say 2. You know that that is not right. Okay? When you have $0 in your hands, and if you want to give Miss Tran $2, you can't. You have to borrow. So you have to go to your next door, to your parents, or to your friend, and you borrow $1 from them. And now you end up, and now they only have $2 left. And we give it back to this 0. So now we have 10 minus 2, which is 8. 2 minus 2 is 0. We don't have to put it down. And then now we have something to carry down, so we must carry it down. The minute we carry down, we have to divide again. So again, my mind can't think of the numbers 80, the numbers 88 and 22, so I will cover. Okay? As I'm covering, I'm asking myself again, so 2 times what gets me as close to 8 as possible without going over? So I'm thinking in my head, 2 times 4 is 8. On the side here, I'm going to test it out first. But when I test it, I have to test it with that whole number, not just 2. I test it with 22, and I think I may be able to make 4 groups of 22 to get me as close to 88 as possible without going over. So 2 times 4, so here's my finger on the fours. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 4 is 8. Wow, look at that. It gave me right on 88. So that tells me I needed 4 groups. Okay, 4 groups goes in here, and I would need 88 marbles, and 88 minus 88 is 0. So again, that's how you can use the cover-up method and the multiplication chart in order to help you successfully solve for these problems. So one question that you may have is, what if the numbers don't divide evenly? So let me give you an example. what if I have this number right here, okay, divided by, let's say 28, okay? Okay, so again, we're going to use the multiplication chart, and we're going to also be covering numbers to help us, just like how we did the other problems. And you're going to see that this one will have a remainder. And I will show you how to put that remainder in properly, okay? So again, 8 divided by 28, I can't because this number is a lot smaller than this one. So I can make 0 groups of 28 out of 8 groups of marbles. Then I slide my finger over, and it is 86, okay? 86 divided by 28. I can't think 86 and 28, so I'm going to cover, okay? I'm going to cover just the last digits of the numbers that I'm thinking of, that I'm talking about. So the last digit of 86 and the last digit of 28, okay? So now in my head I'm thinking, what can I multiply 2 by to get as close to 8 as possible? And in my head I'm thinking 4 groups. But when I'm testing it out, I'm going to test 28 here times 4, okay? And my finger goes on the 4th column. So 4 times 8 gives me 32. 4 times 2 gives me 8 plus the 3 is 11. Ooh, that's way too much. This tells me I can't have 4 groups. I need to lessen the number of my groups. So let me try 28 times 2. Okay, so 8 times 2, let's see, 2 here. 8 times 2 is 16. I bring the 1 over. 2 times 2 is 4 plus the 1 is 5. Ooh, this may be too low. So what if I try something in the middle? So let's say 28 times 3 groups. Okay, so here's my 3's. 3 times 8 is 24. And 3 times 2 is 6 plus the 2 is 8. Ooh, that's closest to 86, as you can see. So this is the number that I want, and I'm going to put the answer down here. Again, remember I told you do not erase any of your work on the side because they will be very helpful, or you will have to spend a lot more time testing out numbers. As you also notice, as we are working these out, there's a lot of testing. It's trial and error. Okay, there's a lot of testing involved when you're dividing. So now I'm going to subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2. 8 minus 8 is 0. I don't have to put the 0 down, but now I'm going to bring down this 5. Now I have 25 divided by 28. Did you notice that 25 is smaller than 28? So then I can say I cannot make any groups of 28 out of 25 marbles. And so 0 times 28 is 0. That leaves me with 25 marbles left over. Okay, so now this becomes my remainder. There are a couple of ways that you can write down this remainder. Also, I wanted to come back to this. Notice I have nothing else to bring down, so this is the end of my division problem right here, okay? So there are a couple of ways that you can write your remainders. In elementary, your teachers, so here's your answer boxes, okay? Your teachers may be okay with you writing 28 remainder 25, and that's okay. Okay, it says the same thing. In intermediate school, you may be required to say, oh, sorry, it's not 28, it's 30. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. Okay, the answer is 30, remainder 25. Okay. In 5th and 6th grades, however, we want you to be able to put it in a fraction. So this is how you do it. You put the answer down here. So 30 is your answer. Okay. And then the remainder becomes your numerator, and this number right here will become your denominator. And that is another way that you can also write your answer. This way is okay if your teacher says it's okay, but normally this is probably the correct way as you're growing into 5th and 6th grades. So I hope that clears up, that answers some of your questions about division and how you can use a multiplication chart. to help you with division problems. Happy learning!